Alrighty, folks, how's everybody doing? Looking for an audio check. I see you guys are already in chat, so everything's looking good. And with that, we can go ahead and get on with it. Perfect. Thank you for the audio check there. And let's jump in. So what is this? Why are we not in the aircraft? I know a lot of you might be asking that, but do my type rating. Oh, lovely stuff. Good luck, Big Daddy. So, did I tell you we've got persistence? Yes, we do. And there are two ways you can fly the airplane. There's the I'm just a complete noob and I just want to get in the cockpit and do the easy stuff, which is to fly. And then there's the I think I know what I'm doing and I'm going to take it all the way. So you select career mode here. Then we get into this screen and we can go ahead and mess around with a lot of stuff. So this is where you create your airframes. You track them, you create state files, and all that good stuff. If I want to create an airframe, by the way, you can just click here, go back to Moj if you want to select a different one. Hi from Moscow, welcome, Black 2306T. So I could go ahead and create a new airframe here. I can edit the registration mark here if I want to, change it to whatever. Doesn't just have to be a specific one. I can go ahead and delete the old one that I created, and I can also create any custom state. I'm currently just freshly loaded into the sim, so this is what you're gonna see initially. UI box is a little bit small, it's surrounded by gray and hard to read. I'm gonna try and make the screen a little bit larger. I've already inflated it 250%. Unfortunately, I'm on a 4K screen, so that might be somewhat. We'll try and get that resolution up higher as we get into the simulator or into the main environment. You'll see. If I want to, I can go ahead and change liveries. Currently, we only have this one. The rest are under construction. You can go ahead and edit your airframe options. So that's what I was talking about, where you can select your preferred units, or you can select your weights. You can even change the strapping on your terrain awareness and warning system. So you can go ahead and select your types of callouts, and we've got essentially all of them in there. We've got all kinds of options. All these options are what Honeywell gives you when you purchase a JitWiz unit. You've got over here on the right side, that's going to be a little bit more apparent when we sort of start doing something with the airplane. And then we've got a checkbox here. Really quick question. I'm sorry, answer yesterday. Aircraft counts with base navgraph. No, you have to use your in Chill Blast. It's using whatever charts you have installed in the simulator. G'day, Pilsnerish. Ah, cool. So you can read this. I'm going to say what it says here. Enter FBO. Professional edger. Sure. So enter FBO. It asks me to confirm if I want to, because I'm going to restore my position and trajectory. And let's go in. So, what is this? As you normally know, pilots don't start out their day in the airplane. You first have to get in the airport. So, that's what we are here. So yeah, this is your FBO. Once your hot start flight support, as you can see over right on this logo here. Well, pretty fun, eh? So, yes, we do simulate an FBO. And we can go ahead and jump into one of the flight planning rooms if we want to. And if I pop nerd candy, yes indeed. And so what we can do here, for instance, if I click on the desk here, I'm gonna bring up my sim brief. And yeah, so that's how you start your flight. You can go ahead and plan a flight. Let's go edit a flight, sure. We'll use my current time, sure, whatever. And we can go ahead and plan a flight. I'm actually at, where am I? I'm still at Medford. And we're just gonna go to Teterboro. Anybody want a particular airport or particular destination? Sure, and we'll take the suggested route here. Analyze. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so go ahead and generate the flight. By the way, when you want to tie, let's jump back in. When you want to tie the airplane to your to the simulator, to SimBrief, just make a note of this pilot ID. And if I show you here back in the sim, you're just gonna go up here into user settings. Actually, let me make the user interface really big so you can see it a little bit better. Go ahead over here to user settings, and you can set your networking. You just go ahead and paste your SimBrief pilot ID in here, and that's how you tie it up into SimBrief. It's also where you link up your charts providers. So, just gonna quickly punch off that flight plan in SimBrief. Just let it generate. Okay, so I'm doing my pre-flight. You can run around the FBO if you want. And yes, we do support WASD for movement. You know, you can sit around. Where are the back coffee and cookies? Unfortunately, no coffee and cookies. We might eventually come out with a plugin to tie this up into your into a coffee maker, but for the time being, coffee you're gonna have to supply yourself. Note, by the way, background sounds. So there is actually quite a lot of sound going on in the background. If you listen in closely, if you can literally just sit here, and you can literally just sit here. X coffee maker control, yes. You can literally just sit here and listen to what's going on outside. It's not just the occasional jet flying by. There's a bunch of little stories that are happening in the background. So on occasion, you're going to hear a Challenger starting up its engine there, over on the air side. And then occasionally, you're going to hear a Challenger taxiing in. And from time to time, you might hear a TBM. So yes, there's a bunch of these. Obviously, since we're all aviation nerds, we got to have a piece of aviation history here. Anybody know what this is? And none of you beta testers go ahead and spoil it. I want to see what chat thinks this is. Okay, Richard Train says a radial, a wasp. I was like, radial, beaver. Okay, okay. But you guys think it's a radial engine. If it's a radial, then when I spin it up, why does the entire engine turn? Yeah, so we've got a cute little plaque here that explains what it is that you're looking at. Yeah, so it's a very, very accurate model of a Gnome 9N 9-cylinder rotary out of essentially a Sopwith Camel, one of the most popular engines of World War I. Got a little switch here that you can operate to play around with it, and we'll eventually have this kind of like clickable, so it takes you to Wikipedia and stuff. Cool. Be called Fire Start. Where are the pretty desk girls? B-Scan, we were thinking about adding 3D people, but unfortunately in X-Plane, when you add 3D people, X-Plane doesn't have the technology to make 3D people look not horrible, so we just kind of went with rather not have it than have it be bad looking. EHG Tower, thanks for following. Clear for takeoff, also thanks for follow. So you'll see when I move, it shows some flags are coming up here. And when I click on this desk here, obviously any of you who have flown real aircraft, you know when you come to an FBO or GA terminal, you can't just go straight through. You got to talk to somebody. So we're going to go ahead and talk to Jenny.
Welcome to Hot Start Flight Support. How can we help you today?
And what do? You file a ground handling request. So we would go ahead and fill in a bunch of details here. This is basically what starts your mission simulation. So when you set up a flight here, that's how you get your stuff loaded. Will this autosave? Well, I mean, you're on the ground, so I guess. Order avgas for my CL650. Yeah, it's not gonna let you click avgas. It's smart enough. So, oh, you ain't seen everything yet, or well, you haven't seen barely, probably less than 10% yet. Okay, so for the time being, we're gonna leave Jenny alone. We're not gonna start a new flight. I'm just gonna go ahead and walk out to the airplane. And by the way, you can walk faster if you want. I'm just kind of taking it slow here. Have fun. So here we are at the airplane. And as a sort of first, you approach the airplane for the first time, we can do a walk around. We can check out stuff. Check on stuff that we got on the airplane. Yeah, like your little oxygen vents. This is not a bug here. This is an actual proper model that is meant to be there. We got our AOA vane. Where are the keys? We're gonna pretend the airplane's unlocked. We're not gonna make you manipulate the key a little bit here. Got our standby pitot tube. Our captain's or pilot's pitot tube. By the way, you know why this discoloration here? This thing gets to over 200 degrees Celsius. One of the things they teach you is you do not touch this. Not even for a fun joke. Ice detector. I got a bunch of other vents and little holes. Now you saw there maybe if I press X here, or you can just use your default commands for go down. We can actually crouch down, look under the airplane, check all our little antennas. We got our transponder antennas here. This is VHF2, ADF antenna. Where's the outflow valve? Martyr 2018. The outflow valve is actually internal to the aft equipment bay in there. It's not immediately, not readily visible from outside. Under here, we've got our trusty weather radar. And you might have heard me mention that we were simulating the HID retrofit on the aircraft, because the way the aircraft normally comes, the landing lights and everything, is it comes with halogen bulbs, right? So these would be like each 200-watt halogen bulbs. We have simulated that you've splurged for the aftermarket 80-watt, high intensity discharge boom beams. And so what this is right here, these two boxes, these are your high voltage ballasts. So basically your high voltage inverters that are there to drive the HID discharge lamps. So carrying on, we got our oxygen filler port. AC GPU attaches right here. Number 2 ice detector, co-pilot's pitot-static port. We got our total air temperature probe right here. Will there be an option to switch out the halogens? Not at this time, YD simulation. Auxiliary AOA. Number 2 AOA. Yeah, so there are 3 angle of attack indicators. And yeah, I don't know exactly how this AOA probe works, but yeah, it's kind of like a spike. There are different ways to measure angle of attack, I guess. So Then we've got our little lighty lights. So this would be your refuel defuel attachment point. And by the way, we've already got models for them internally, but we haven't animated the doors yet. So you're gonna see that on release. I'm gonna, for the time being, you might be, this is a pre-release model, so always take that with a grain of salt. You might see a little wart here and there. So, don't be too disappointed. We've got still going over with the fine-tooth comb, line up all the loose ends. So this is your wing inspection light right here. Anybody know what these lights are? So you got two over here. You got we've got one over there. Anybody know what these are for? Notice all the little fasteners are sort of rotated arbitrarily differently. Yeah, they're emergency exit lights. They're very quick. Yeah. So these are for this door, for the emergency exit. Now we're not going to make it openable. Thing is, if you disassemble the emergency exits, actually the airplane has to go into a hangar and be reassembled, essentially, this thing, so you can't do it on the ramp. But yeah, and in here would be the external refuel defuel panel. Generally, Challenger operators do not allow the refuelers to use this because it doesn't have quantity indication. So they basically just use the internal panel inside of the cockpit. So here are our landing and taxi HIDs. No, generally, I did that all the time, every time. I did all the time, every time. Yeah, stakes generally on a Challenger. Reason is you don't have quantity indications on here. So there are no ways to check. Here we got our vent holes for the leading edge anti-ice. So that's hot wing anti-ice, so hot bleed air. Okay, carrying on, just quickly. One of the weird things, right, you know what this is. Just as a quick check. Yeah, essentially it's like to attach a sling and stuff, yeah, to the wing while on an emergency exit. Yeah. Wing walking security mount. Sort of, if the airplane was taller. Yeah, it goes for the emergency exit there. One of the weird things about the Challenger is that you still have the ability, we're not simulating that part, but the aircraft was designed with the ability to overwing refuel. So it does have a single point pressure refuel attachment point right here. And then it also has overwing gravity refuel in case you are at an airport that doesn't have pressure refueling. Now, if you use this, which is the reason why we're not simulating is basically it's just like a conventionally, you come up with a refuel hose and just dump fuel in there. Reason is it's fairly limiting on the range because you can only fill the wings, you can't quite fill the center tanks all the way, and you definitely cannot fill the tail because obviously the tail is higher, it doesn't flow up. So that is that. So we're basically just simulating pressure refueling. We got our dual nav lights, strobe discharger, data quicks, and a good old spike here on the edge, just to, poke yourself in the chest with. By the way, this eye height you're seeing, it actually follows the terrain. If there was slightly deformed terrain here, it would actually follow that. And this is placed at about a, typical person's height. It's essentially my height. Sort of, this is what it would look like from my eye level, which I'm 5'9", 175 centimeters. So this is essentially what your typical human would see. So the airplane isn't that small as you might have, some people might have thought that, oh, Challenger is a small airplane. You can see, the airplane ain't that small. So there definitely is no way for you to, climb up there easily. And we come back over. Somebody was asking whether you're going to be wiping the windshield on your Challenger. Not really. Good axes, or what's the story? For the Challenger, we just think it's a good airplane. And we also had access to them, but... So. What's this? You tell me, guys. So we come back here. We got our flaps, tracks, main landing gear. Manual start valve. Brain. Cool dump hole. Sticker. Remover for stuffs. So this is your overpressure port for the leading edge. I'm sorry, for the cowl anti-ice. You take off high pressure 14 stage compressor air. And if the vent here, so this is normally the air goes into what they call a piccolo tube, the little tube inside of there that has like little holes that blows hot air on the metal portion here of the cowl. And then eventually the air gets discharged overboard here. What happens if this vent gets plugged up? Well, you could blow out the entire forward section and basically separate out the cowl here. That would not be good. So this is an overpressure port. Basically, if it pops out, you know you don't have cowl anti-ice. You basically have to have that checked. So many followers. So here we have our brakes, so dual brake packs. There are the brakes on the Challenger are running off 2 hydraulic systems. I separated, so there are the inboard brakes, which are number 3 system, and the outboard brakes on each wheel that are on the number 2 hydraulic system. Number 2 hydraulic is pressurized by this here engine, the right engine. Number 3 hydraulic is using dual electric hydraulic pumps that are actually mounted in the aft equipment bay. And yeah, you basically check that you've got, so this is why these are rigid steel lines, because you got 3000 psi fluid going in here. This ain't your garden variety, you know, Toyota pressure system, brake system. This is a fairly high pressure system, so 3000 psi fluid. Anybody want to guess what the brake job on a Challenger costs? I happen to know the number, give or take. And we can go ahead and, if we want to, you know, if we wanted to go flying at this point, we could remove the main wheel chock. You're pretty close, yeah. It's about $60,000 to $80,000 is a full brake job, brake workup on a Challenger. Yeah, might want to turn that off. I'm gonna try and do that somehow as soon as I figure out how. Stand by. Twitch alerts. I can't figure this out. Good question. How do I do that? As soon as I figure out how to do it, I'll be happy to do it. The only way I probably know how to do that is... Well, good question. 439 customers online mods. Anyway, carrying on. Bit of a quick walk around the model here. We got our GoGo Wi-Fi antenna number 1 and number 2. So this is what you're using for cabin antenna for cabin Wi-Fi when you're over ground. Gotcha. Thank you. We've got our dual radio altimeter, transmitter, and receivers. Browser source from Streamlabs. Yes, John Fly, it is from Streamlabs. No, browser. It's from. Yeah, I think it's from Streamlabs. Yes. Add reference type rating for the CL650 and CL from CRJ pods. It's different. It's not the same type rating, but they're fairly similar. So over here we got the aft equipment bay. We will eventually make this openable. You can climb inside. You see we've got already some stuff in there. Got the APU firebox, some cupboards and stuff in there, but we want to make it more correct, so we'll hold off on that. Marker antenna, marker beacon audio, marker beacon antenna. We've got our tail tank dump mast. So there are actually the tail tank is about here. And we got a pair of saddle tanks, which actually you can kind of see in here. Let me see. They're kind of hard to see. They're about there-ish somewhere. They're a little bit hard to see. That bad. But we'll get them all done. Aft strobe or aft anti-collision light plus aft nav light. And we've also got a little nav light up there as well. So there are 2 white lights on the tail. Typewritten on a CRJ2 says CL650 on my license, not CRJ. Interesting, Edward Pilot. I didn't know that. Yeah, there's so many parts. You got our oil deaerator vent on the engines and various, low pressure cooling NACA low drag vents. Obviously the engine itself. Over here, again, we'll make all these openable. We've got models for the internals, just haven't animated all the doors yet and stuff. But there, over here, you've got the APU fault panel, which I can actually show you. I've got a 3D version of the pop-up ready to sort of go. This is what it looks like in there. So your APU fault control panel, and this is where you attach your, if you got external starter air, that would come in here as well. Cargo door, eventually on the initial version, we're not going to make this openable. Didn't get to it in time. Hydraulic 3B control door. Well, that's essentially, I think, for the reservoir for the pump and accessories. Remove this chalk here. We can go ahead and complete the walk around. Watch the spike, don't impale yourself. Left 2 nav lights strobe. Glass unbroken, all good. Leading edge. Over wing filler port. The inspection light and nav and, sorry, the landing and taxi light. And we are back at the door. So let's go ahead and climb inside. To do that, there's the big bubble antennas on tail. I'm not sure what you mean. Okay, so to pop it out, you basically push on the center piece here. Well, it says kind of embossed in there, push. This releases pressure for the airplane. If the airplane was pressurized, it actually couldn't push this in, so. Then we unlock the door. And all you got to do now is basically just pull on the door a little bit, and it'll fall off. Alrighty. And you'll hear that the audio changes when I walk inside. Here we are in the galley. You got our lovely Cuisinart coffee maker. Champagne glass display, including the little plastic. I love this detail. How do these not fall out? Well, there's a little plastic holder clip that's basically you shove the glass underneath so it doesn't fall out. You got turbulence and stuff. Wash basin, sink, and all that good stuff. Here we are in the main rich people, important people place. CDL. Yeah, you can sit down in any of these. By the way, when you're inside of the airplane on a seat, when you sit down here, we don't constrain your movement. You can even clip through the walls if you want. Reason why we did that, that's a deliberate choice. That's not a bug. Because we know that people want to set up their views in various places. They want to make camera presets and stuff. So we will let you basically move anywhere. If you want to just get back into standing mode, all you got to do is basically just walk into the center corridor here. So yeah, you can sit in any one of these. Alrighty. Cabin tours and wing views. So yeah, quite literally. Can you upload your presets? which presets. If you want graphical settings, you can quickly take a glance here. Here are my graphical settings. So go ahead and copy those, I guess. Oh, CL650 pilot. We recorded a lot more. The airplane has about, in fact, I can take a look at the load screen here on a console. You've got 547 events in Fmod, and we've got something like 3,000 sound triggers all over the place. Does it have a big FPS hit? If I show you the FPS, it's not actually going to come through on stream because I'm running a 4K monitor, but I can tell you what the FPS is if I bring this up. Because I know people are going to ask about it. I'm running 60 FPS right now. 45 if I look in that direction. It's mostly the terrain, to be honest. That's costing me frames. And when it comes to plug-in timing, there you go. 700 microseconds is how much per frame processing we take up. Alrighty. And yeah, here's the lab. Close up. Toilet paper. Gizmo's not running at all. I don't have Gizmo running right now, Tim Rodeo, but it really doesn't take up that much. What are my specs? On an RX, on a Ryzen 3700X and a RTX 3060 Ti. Yeah, this is a limitation of X-Plane that you're looking at there. It's X-Plane doesn't actually do, ray traced reflections, so it's basically using what they call a cube map. And the cube map is rendered from the point of view of the cockpit, so that's why that kind of looks a little bit weird. Unfortunately, there's really no way to do mirrors correctly in X-Plane. And by the way, when you've got the door closed, you can't actually clip through. We do stop you. So it's behaving correctly there. Is the toilet paper persistent? You need to replenish the toilet paper. No, you don't. Currently, we don't do that. We've also got our little curtain here, which you would normally pull. If you've got, once you're en route, on the way. Let me show you, actually. So, how do we close the door? The way to close the door is normally what you would do is you would either grab one of these handles or just grab this handle up here, called the pull-up assist handle. I'm just holding it. Okay, to lock it in, we operate this handle here. And finally, we still got the outer handle sticking out of the airplane, so it wouldn't pressurize, actually. So to stow the outer handle, there's a little cover here. Pull. And there you go. Airplane's now fully locked up. If we had the avionics actually has micro switches simulated all over the door. That checks for all the correct sequencing that you've done everything. Otherwise, it's going to give you an amber caution about it. And to get out, it's even simpler. Just operate this handle that releases everything. You have to be depressurized for this, though. And just push the door forward. You can close it from a menu too, right? No, Tim Rodeo, you have to close it like this. Okay, so got one chalk in. Let's go ahead and order some services. So let's get something going here. To get back into the FBO, crew meals, sort of. To get back into the FBO, you can basically just walk away from the airplane. We're just going to place, eventually we're going to have a little marker there. So I've got my flight planned up. So let's go ahead and talk to Jenny about it.
Welcome to Hot Start Flight Support. How can we help you today?
That was the flight attendant. Oh, you have to do it, John Livingstone Seagull. Will the TBM get the FBO? Maybe. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, so you can either use, if you don't want WASD, if you've got that already mapped for something, I can disable that. And then you would use your normal X-plane movement commands as is. We do actually capture those, so we will just move like a normal person. You're not going to fly all over the place. So, let's go ahead and get our little flight on the way. So I am CGHSA. That is my call sign. Phone vibrates. You'll see bottle. Estimated time of departure. So it is currently, this is time in Zulu. So I can either type a number here. Let's say that I'm going to be departing, whatever. 2125 or something. Or I can just point at the clock here. So let's say that we're going to be departing in Wino models for avatars. Because humans in X-Plane is kind of a limited engine for humans, so it doesn't really do well. Okay, so let's say we're going to depart in about 30 minutes. So I'm just going to click on that. Notice that in here, we don't select where people sit. We just tell it how many people we expect to come. They're going to sit where they're going to sit. As a pilot, you don't really control that. So I know we always have 2 crew. We may have up to 3 crew. I'm actually 4 crew. But normally we are 2 crew minimum. It's not going to let you enter something wrong here. So 2 crew is the typical. And I'm going to say that we're going to have 4 passengers. Here's a typical load. And I'm going to order fuel. I could order any one of these other services, and they will eventually get sent to the aircraft. So make a note of this frequency if you do need de-icing, and we will need de-icing eventually. I'm going to show you how to do that. So how do we confirm this? Well, just like in real life, you just go ahead and sign it. There.
Of course, Captain. I'll get that organized for you right away.
No Type 1 fluid. Plainboy S, that's de-ice. That's Type 1 fluid. So Jenny is going to take care of our services here. And we're going to just walk over to the airplane. By the way, you can click on the door if you want to just make it a little bit quicker. Stuff is great. Is there a quick load option? Well, a good fix is if you want a quick load and jump in and fly, you just load the training mode and you can still use X-Plane's weight and balance if you really, really want it. Just throw weight in there and just go. You just want to go quick. This is to be the full experience. We want to show you how this actually works. Go to the restroom in the FBO. Yeah. So I've just arrived at the airplane. How does this work in VR? Dobby 93, not really. For VR, you probably want to take off VR until you're sitting in the seat. It wouldn't work in VR. VR doesn't really mesh with any kind of real movement in space. So, just sit down in the airplane. Battery master on. Does this work with the X camera? Jacob Singer, we temporarily disable X camera while you're in walk mode. You can re-enable it once you're sitting down and then disable to get back into walk mode. X camera unfortunately clashes with our control of camera. Okay. Now, normally what you would do is you wouldn't really care about when stuff happens, because in reality it's going to happen in sort of a sequence that you don't really know for sure. If you do want to know, we do let you know that. If you do absolutely need to know, you can show service status here, and it's going to tell you when stuff is going to get to the airplane. So my passengers are going to come in about just under 20 minutes, maybe, give or take, and fuel is going to be here in about 4 minutes. What about track IR, native XP track IR function? You want to disable track IR because thing is, you're moving through space here. How would track IR work? It'd really be kind of weird. And you move your overlay to the lower right. Which overlay? I shouldn't have any overlay. Oh, the FAQ? I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely I can. Yes, yes, yes. Do the lower right or lower left? Yes, this thing, and I'll move it just a moment here. There we go. So I can show you service status here. I should be able to see it a little bit better. So I'm going to hide those because in reality, you don't know when this stuff happens. So first things first, we have to do a fire test. As before, I'm going to look over here. I'm going to operate the 2 fire extinguishing switches because we're going to bring up the APU. Passengers are slow. So your departure time actually selects when passengers are going to arrive, and I've coded it in such a way that the passengers are going to arrive roughly between 5 and 15 minutes before your planned time of departure. We're not forcing you to wait for late passengers, as happens in real life quite often. So we're looking for 4 squibs okay, 2 squibs okay for the APU. Operate the fire detection and warning test. So warn first. 5 fires.
Jet pipe overheat. Jet pipe overheat.
Then the fail test back here. Again, we're looking for 5 fail lamps there, or fail messages on there. Good stuff. Passenger noises. We're not making the passengers make noises, no. There's going to be noises you'll hear, but not the passengers so far. So, we are good to start the APU. We know we've got good fire detection and suppression systems on board. So, I'm going to push power fuel here. Then maybe a touch loud. Okay, let me quiet down a sim a little bit. You let me know. So we're looking for the RPMs here to come up on the APU. Okay, well, I'm gonna set it a little bit up then. Give or take. Yeah, about there. So 95% plus 5 seconds is going to give me an avail light, and eventually 10 seconds after, it's going to tell me you got the APU available and you haven't selected it on yet. I'm even going to get a cast message about it. APU gen off, that means I can go ahead and select the APU on. I'm going to go ahead and start my timer here, because I know I'm going to have my passengers come in soon, so I want to get the jet cooled down, or warmed up, whatever it may be. Currently the outside air temperature is fairly chill. It's 17 degrees inside of the cabin here. It'll be a little bit chilly for passengers, so we want to get everything going well. Ah, there we go. Look who's here. He does actually drive up, by the way. Yeah, 17 Celsius. You have to wait 2 minutes before turning on the APU lead. Yes, you do. Bernardo W. I mean, you can turn it on anyway, but that's the Bombardier procedure. So, eventually we're going to get the fueler. Fueler's currently hooking up to the airplane. You're going to hear it clunk. There we go. So he's now pulling the hose in and, you know, getting the airplane grounded, everything. And you see your passengers in the plane. No, we haven't put put passengers in because they're creepy. A little bit too creepy. So I'm gonna go up over here. One thing that I'm gonna quickly show you, when you turn on the AC/DC utility switch, that basically powers on the rest of the electronics in the cabin back there. So I'm gonna uncheck that, and we're gonna just quickly jump back here. By the way, this is not a blank screen. This is how you control your cabin lighting. And yes, we do have a full flight information display as well. It's currently booting up. Does it play rock music? AC/DC switch.
All right, Captain. Fuel truck is hooked up. Just let me know how much fuel you need. Or would you like to go tanks full today?
So, classic stuff. Fueler comes in and interrupts whatever you were doing. Barges in. And as is classic for the fuelers, they're only going to give you a fuel density, and it's up to you to work out how much fuel you want. So at this point, you would be, you should have checked how much you got on board. Let's say for our flight, we need about 10,000. Well, no, we're probably going to need more. What does SimBrief say here? I'm going to quickly go ahead and check on my plan. SimBrief says that we're going to need 9,400 for trip, 12,000 total on board minimum. Yes, I have to move the chat as well. A little bit over the screen there. Man, this thing is sort of all over the place today. Twitch chat. Come on, there you go. Twitch chat, you're gonna go here. Sit there and think about what you've done. We're going to Teterboro. A little bit more than 2 hours long. Yeah, it's quite a bit longer. So, to get our fuel in, so we've got 2,600 pounds on board. Oh, IRS is just aligned. You're gonna remove chat. Yeah, you're right, probably. I was thinking about it. So, there you go. So, we need 12,000 pounds on board at least. I'm actually gonna load more. Pretty typical. Oh, by the way, 2 minutes has elapsed, so we can go ahead and turn on the bleeds. So we're gonna go APU LCV, isolation valve. And you can see over here as I open up the packs how the APU is going to become loaded up. And it's going to get even hotter. Kilograms available, yes. Yes, in fact, it's right here. Well, not this one. It's in here. You can change your options to kilograms as well. Must be compatible with XP12. We will be updating it for XP12, so yes. So the fueling units that, by the way, yeah, reflected reality sim, good point. The units that the fueler gives you is specific to the location. So I'm currently in the US, so you're going to get pounds and gallons. And it's up to you as the pilot to translate that into however much fuel you need. So I know I've got 2,600 on board. I'm just going to take it up to 13,000, so I'm going to need about 10,400 pounds. In the UK, does it use UK gallons? In the UK, it uses liters. Canada appears to be in liters. Yes, it is as well. So I need, I'm just going to run some quick math here. I'm going to need about 10,400 pounds of fuel extra at 6.739 pounds. So just divide 6.739. I need 1,540 gallons. I can use my mouse, or I can click and drag, or I can use my mouse to fine tune it. So 1,540 gallons, give or take. Don't forget to show refuel defuel study menu. Oh yeah. So if I'm happy with this, I'm gonna round it up a little bit.
All right, I'm gonna go start up the pump.
Yes, the fuel density does change with air temperature. So he's over there gonna start up the pump. I'm gonna run over here because I'm not done with refueling yet. I have to power up the refuel defuel panel, and I have to open up the valves that I want. And refueler, and you refuel the aircraft yourself. Kurahana, yes you can. So that is what you would do if you didn't use career mode. You can go in here and ground service of refuel and basically just operate the pump yourself. You can see over here he's already started the pump, so he's trying to push fuel in. I'm just going to open up both valves here for the mains. We're probably going to need to take fuel into the center and tail as well. And I'll just do a quick open on all of them. Do a quick shut-off test. All close. Release the shut-off test. And for the time being, I'm taking a partial fuel load, so I'm going to turn off the center and tail. This type is not necessarily happy-pappy. 60, 82. It depends on your mission profile. Yeah, so the power is for this circuit breaker panel here. That's for when you're doing maintenance and when they're pulling the entire panel out. Okay, so he's pumping away. This is gonna take a while. So, A mode as you load the plane. So, for the time being, we can go ahead and set up our flight. We've got a full data link simulation. I'm not flying real time here, so you can disregard this message. It's things that were not current on the database. For the time being, I'm gonna swap the database over, and then I'm gonna swap it over again. That clears out anything we've had in the box. Yes, the electrical system is modeled to a T. So we've got the flight plan, all of that cleared out. So now we have to go and fetch our no, CPDLC is not currently in N8XSU. We're gonna go route menu, flight plan recall, and I'm just gonna punch in my origin and destination, or I can punch in the tail number of my airplane on SimBrief. I'm just gonna go for origin and destination. So we're going for Medford KMF. My mouse is double clicking. I've got a faulty mouse here. To Teterboro. Come on. TEB. And you can pop it out, by the way. Use keyboard if you want as well. To Teterboro. Go ahead and hit send. And we'll get that underway. In fact, I'm going to go do the pre-flight checklist or cockpit preparation checklist. I'm just going to invoke my checklist key once, and that's going to make the virtual first officer start reading off the checklist here. Flight compartment checklist. AC and DC electrics. And those have been checked. I'm actually going to check the DC side as well. All is well. Nav lights, logo light. Nav light is on, logo we don't need during the day. Cockpit lights. They are set. Lamp test. Lamp test is back over here. So operated forward, and then we've also got the other switch position. Good stuff. Duct monitor. Duct monitor is up here, so that'll be a functional check.
Bleed air duct.
And then the loop tester. Loop A test OK. Loop B test. Loop B test OK. FMS database status. We've cycled and checked it. FMS flight plan uplink, ATIS. We've done the flight plan uplink. We can actually fetch ATIS if we want. We have an altitude and differential pressure gauge. That's up here. It's up here. Yes, you can select your flight director type. We'll go into data link, ATIS, and I want a. We don't actually, don't think Medford has a ATIS for departure. Data ATIS. Yeah, it doesn't have it available, so ATIS is not available at Medford. You fetch it over radio. For Teterboro, we could actually fetch ATIS. I think Teterboro has it available. Yes, they do. So. This is a real-world ATIS, by the way, so we're using actual real-world ATISes when you are offline. When you're on VATSIM, we'll give you the VATSIM ATIS, if any. And if you're on Pilot Edge, we'll give you the Pilot Edge ATIS if the free field has data ATIS service available. For Medford, we can go ahead and fetch terminal weather here over Data Link. What about drawing from Active Sky? Active Sky, don't think has really any weather radar support currently on X-Plane. KMFR, we're going to fetch KMFR. Terminal weather, that's going to take a little while. You're flying online, but there is no VATSIM ATIS. Does it fall back the ATIS? Well, it's the other way around. IntelliFX. If it doesn't have the ATIS, it just tells you no D ATIS. And then you have to use audio. So yeah. Well, Active Sky doesn't provide ATIS. Active Sky provides weather. information, which we can show you like this. So this is terminal weather. Will you show de-ice later? Yes, I will. In a short moment. So you've got your METAR, TAF. If there are PIREPs, it'll actually give you those as well. No PIREPs, no NOTAMs. Good. So you can hop out of here back into the data link menu. Not better than VATSIM. If the VATSIM controller expects you to read the ATIS. Yeah, so if you're on VATSIM, that's suboptimal from flying on VATSIM. We want to know the information relevant to VATSIM, like the Intel. If you're in VATSIM, it's going to fetch VATSIM data ATIS. The VATSIM one, not the real world one, if you're on VATSIM. It's never going to give you the real world one if it's easier if you're on VATSIM. So don't worry, it's going to give you the correct one. No, it will not fall back to the real one. Step on the ball. I really don't know what more you would want. If the field doesn't have an ATIS on VATSIM, then it's not going to give you an ATIS. There we go. Cool.
Anti-skid.
Yes, it will pull Pilot Edge VATSIM as well, Goldsy. Of course. Anti-skid test.
Nose door.
The pump stopped too early, Captain. Do you need more fuel?
Yeah, I hit my full high levels on the wings, and we haven't pumped all the fuel that we requested. So I'm gonna go close up these guys. Actually, I can leave them all open. And I'm just going to tell them, you know what, go ahead and pump back up to my original 1,550 gallons that I asked for.
All right, I'm going to go start up the pump.
Classic case, if you are familiar with flying Challengers, can I hear the JITWIS test? Sure you can. There you go.
Glide slope. Pull up. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Terrain. Terrain.
That's the
Pull up.
short. I did the short test. You can actually do the long one, which takes about a minute to complete. So I didn't do that one. So we want to make sure that there's nobody. It does use FMOD as the engine. Yes.
Hydraulic 3A pump.
Okay, so it's just basically checking that there's nobody near the nose door. Because if I had, there is a way to actually make the open up the nose door, and if somebody got their fingers in there as we power up the hydraulics and had the nose door accidentally closed, then it would basically crush their fingers. So we don't want to have that happen. You can actually open the nose door. It's not currently in the build. We do have a switch for that, but it's not modeled up. But it will be. Don't worry. Where these characters displayed during a JITWIS test looks like some kind of serial number. It is bio.
The pump stopped too early, Captain. Do you need more fuel?
Huh? Oh, right. I'm an idiot. Yeah, sorry about that, buddy. Continue pumping.
All right. I'm going to go start up the pump.
I was stupid. When you operate these switches and you don't get fuel pressure in 30 seconds, the fuel computer will close the switches. But I have to know, I'm going to make sure that he's got the pump running. Gonna wait for him a little bit. And I'm gonna cycle the switches down. And then I'm gonna cycle the switches back up. And there we go. Now we're pumping. This airplane has this system. It does have TCAS 2 version 7.1, yes, so it has the latest TCAS. Nav RACE. It is a fully featured FBO, yeah. Cool. So hydraulic 3A pump. Pump's coming on. And we will see, wow, there we go. Tail refuel shutoff valve open. Hydraulic 3A pump is pumping.
Brake pressure.
Brake pressure, we got 3,000 psi. You fill the center and tail tanks evenly. If you're on it, you have to have them open at the same time to keep center of gravity.
Parking brake.
So you have to push down on your brakes, pull the parking brake lever, and then you can let go of your brakes.
Nose door.
Nose door is closed. We don't have. We otherwise have a caution here.
Hydraulic panel and pumps.
There's a functional check, but basically it just means put everything else to auto. So basically they're all going to point down.
Electric panel.
The electric panel is up here.
AC DC utility switch.
That one's pushed out, so it's on.
Start ignition panel.
Just making sure that we don't have anything armed or continuous ignition. And by the way, yes, when you turn on the continuous ignition, you walk out. You can hear the igniters clicking. So yeah, they're firing in there. Yeah, there we go. That's got to be important, right?
Hello, Captain. It's Jenny from Hot Start Flight Support. Your passengers have arrived. Shall I have them brought to the plane?
We're not quite ready for them yet, so I'm just going to tell her to hold them for a minute.
Understood. Just call me when you're ready to receive them. Anything else?
That'll be all, thank you.
Always a pleasure. Take care.
Cool. So we'll finish our little procedures here. Start ignition panels
Fuel
checked.
panel.
We do the double smiley check. So, switch these three guys on. We want to have both of these come on just from one switch. Open, open. Push this. This inhibits the other side. Push, push. We still want to have them both running. Uninhibit this guy. Opens. Off, off, off. Everything goes away, and we get two in-op lights there and the caution.
APU LCV.
That one's open.
10th stage isolation valve.
Open.
Packs.
Or on.
Air conditioning panel.
I've kind of done some stuff here out of order, so that's why it's kind of doesn't flow. Normally, by the way, people, get the heck out of here. There's no way. People might be wondering why the checklist is so long. You have to understand how these jets are operated. In your ringtone, you can change your ringtone. You can switch over. That's what this setting was. You want to have your phone vibrate for you instead. That's also a possibility if you find the ringtone annoying. So the reason why there are so many items on the checklist here is because these jets are not operated like a commercial airliner. You know, many of these pilots have maybe 50 hours in the jet per year, and to fly many different types. So it is important for them to not to do the checklist as a flow from memory or procedure from memory and then a checklist to back it up. Instead, what they do is they have a read and do checklist. So you're basically pushing buttons as it comes up on the checklist. The idea being is you never miss anything, and you also can basically just follow the checklist, and it's going to always leave your jet with an aircraft that is correctly configured. By the way, this little symbol here, that means it's the first flight of the day check. So if you're doing more than one flight, you can basically skip those. Air conditioning panel, so that'll be up here. We got our cabin transfer control over to the cabin. We are normal. Cabin temperatures are looking good. Just set it about there. What's our temperature? 24 degrees. It's a little bit warm in the cabin. I'm going to take you down a smidge. Yeah, about there. That'll do. In fact, it's no point in adjusting this one because now I've got it under cabin control. So we come up here, and I actually want to go up into temperature control and cool you down so just a bit. Okay, carry on.
Pressurization panel.
For pressurization, we just checked that we've got our landing field elevation set. I'm just going to set it to the airport that we're at.
Bleed air panel.
And we don't have any faults in the lamps and stuff. Bleed air panel is looking as a picture, so that's all good.
Supplemental ground wing anti-ice panel switch.
So we're just making sure that this off switch here is not pushed in. It's a weird piece of paneling.
Cal
Time check.
anti-ice switches.
Thank you. Cal anti-ice. We just cycled those through. We're just going to skip
Anti-ice
that.
panel.
Anti-ice panel, there's a whole functional check involved in this. I'm going to
Emergency
skip
lights.
those because we want to basically get to some of the ground service stuff. So emergency
Passenger
lights are
signs.
on. Passenger signs are on.
ELT.
Refueling is complete, Captain. Do you need anything else?
Do we need anything else? I don't think we do. These guys are now closed. I'm going to quickly check my quantities. It takes a few minutes for these guys to stabilize and fully sum up. So, we're already set the bar very high. Yeah, we've got enough fuel for the trip. Let's check on my sim brief here. We need 12,482. We've got full summing up a little bit going up. It's probably going to get close to 13,000 once the fuel computer is done summing. So, I think we've got enough fuel. By the way, you can consider this number to be gospel. So yeah, this has accuracy errors, all kinds of measurement perceptional errors. But yes, are we happy with the fuel, guys? Everybody happy? Okay. Go ahead and...
Okay, just one quick signature on here, and I'll be on my way.
Hey, who's paying? So somebody got to bring out the credit card, right? We're on the hook for $82.96 and 23 cents. Well, you know what? Good old company fueling card's gonna handle this. So, go ahead and sign on here.
Here's a copy for your records. Have a nice day.
Okay, and he's gonna go and unhook the fueler. Okay, with that in, we can go ahead and call Jenny for the passengers. And by the way, when you're en route, here's your phone. Real signing too. Here's your phone. When you're down on the ground, you can just use your phone right like normal. But when you're up at 30,000 feet and you want to call the FBO ahead of time, how do you do that? Well, some companies allow you to use frequencies. Some companies allow you to use ACARs. In our case, you just use the sat phone back here. But yeah, we can call her on the old Iridium sat phone, and you can see it as actually this matches the Iridium network status that we're on currently. Can I launder money through the FBO? I don't think so. Won't really work. We can call her on the old sat phone.
Hot start flight support. Jenny speaking.
Now, sat phone's having a hard time down on ground. You can go ahead and bring up the passengers.
Understood. They'll be there in a couple of minutes. Anything else?
That'll be... Actually, do we want to call an air start unit? Sure. Let's pretend we don't have a functional APU. We do, but I'll just say we don't.
Of course. I'll have that over with you in a minute or two. Anything else?
Yeah.
Always a pleasure. Take care.
And he's driving away. Bye-bye. Phone signal depends for this phone here basically on how close you are to the ground. That phone depends on Iridium. Now to require an air start, yes. Any chance of hotel reservations? Iridium for the satellite phone, yes. Cool. Let's get this thing out of the way.
Flare
ELT.
shield panel.
Flare shield panel is looking good.
Crew and passenger oxygen.
So we'll check that we've got enough oxygen. 1910 psi is indicating on the oxygen pressure. You can go do air. Quick check over left and right. And we've got passenger oxygen selected to norm. No therapeutic oxygen set. And by the way, yes, we do have these.
DCU warning panel.
ECU warning panel is this guy over here. We basically want to make sure that these are not pushed in.
CVR.
CVR would be a little functional check. Up here. There we go. Passengers haven't arrived yet. We can just quickly check how far they are. Yeah, just about ready to come here. They're on the way. We can watch them arrive. And we got your ubiquitous Mercedes Vito. So they're gonna go ahead and board. No red carpet. Yeah, no red carpet today. Yeah. The standard issue black Mercedes van. And in fact, if you listen in closely, you can actually hear them getting in the plane. Champagne and cigars.
Hello, Captain. Hope you are doing well today.
Thank you. Yes, I am.
Great. There's nobody else coming along today, so as far as we're concerned, we're all good to go.
So, that is my cue that everybody's on board, everybody's seated, they're all ready to go. I shouldn't have turned on the seatbelts while we were still fueling, but you got that. So, we can go ahead and back here, close it up. Intel their AITTS. Okay. Nose wheel chocks. You'll see. SK331. Okay, so we'll just quickly bang out the checklist here. ER
Audio
check.
panels, SPS
Yes.
is integrated,
Skip.
standby clock.
Clock is
EFIS,
reset.
ICAS.
EFIS, ICAS. We do a full check.
Main landing gear bay overheat.
Another check. TALS warning switches. Pitch and roll disconnects. By the way, these are glow in the dark. So if I make it like nighttime, just stand by here for a sec. These are actually, I didn't turn them on or anything. These are always glow in the dark. So there's a radioactive paint. Costs like $5,000 on the stickers. So don't put your greasy fingers on there, because they are gonna get messed up. If you don't intend to pull on them, don't put your hand on there. Just check visually if they're in.
Ground spoilers.
Ground spoiler check. We would do
Thrust reversers.
thrust reversers. We would arm.
Thrust levers.
Thrust levers are, we do a full thrust lever check.
Engine speed switches.
And then there's
Engine
another
vibration check.
bunch of functional
Roll
checks that we'll get to tomorrow.
Smoke detector.
Just bring me to the safe position on my numpad. No Nevada rocks. I think it puts you to the default position here, which is in alignment with the eye alignment indicator. To walk sitting. Yes, you can, Miss Havdal. It's under here, under show on screen. Hence, if you don't want it, you can get rid of it. It actually disappears after 2 seconds if you don't move, so you can have it on and still take screenshots. It still works fine.
Trims. Mock trim.
Trim's a mock trim. Would do a little trim checks.
Yacht ampers.
Yacht ampers.
Reversionary inhibit switches.
Cool.
IRS.
Push those all in. IRS is aligned.
CPDLC.
CPDLC, we would do a log on if we had CPDLC.
TCAS.
TCAS test.
ATIS and clearance.
And by the way, if you want to see TCAS test, it's done through your tune menu. Go to ATC here, click on this, and you can do a quick TCAS test. Cool. And so
TCAS system test okay.
ATIS and clearance. We would talk
FMS
clearance.
flight plan. Wind update.
FMS flight plan. So we got data link flight plan loaded. So it came in over data link. We go to secondary flight plan. That's where it loads into. Activate it. Execute it. And now we've got flight plan. By the way, it's not just our little, it's not just our flight plan stuff here that is flight plan, receiving the flight plan. It's also the cabin info screen here. This guy, he actually does show you your flight plan. You can watch this literally. And the reason why it's not showing an estimated time of arrival, or remaining flight time, is because it didn't initialize the performance on the flight plan. So let's go and quickly do that. Jump back in. Yes, proper airport names. Yes, sir. Wind update and perf, so we could go into index, route menu, flight plan wind update. And we could go ahead and push that. We could do a perf in it. So we're going to say that's like, I don't know, what is the outside air temperature? I'm just going to quickly set something. Sure, let's make it like, I don't know, 9 degrees or something. 9, perf in it. We got to initialize the initial weight, so we've got 12,900 pounds on board. We are going to go up to flight level 370 for the time being, just as an initial plan. It wants us to go higher. Yeah, we're probably going to have to go higher. F3, I'd have to check on what SimBrief planned for us. There we go. Now it's happy. Probably wants to go up to flight level 410. Let me check my flight plan because I should have done that initially. I don't know, it initially wants to flight level 370. We'll just give it so it doesn't complain. Where is wind data coming from? It's coming from real world winds. Airbus driver. And I think we got... have we gotten the wind update? Not yet. It's still downloading, isn't it? It might be. Kind of a tricky thing with winds. You're never quite sure if it's done fetching them. Leg wind. Oh, it's already inserted them. Perfect. Wonderful. So, perf init is completed. And you'll see that now that I've initialized my weights, our flight info screen is actually showing a local time at destination. This is actually picking up. Wind update is slow over VDL mode alpha. Yes, it is. It's showing us local time in actual correct times and remaining flight time and all that good stuff. Outside air temperature, all of this cycles between metric and American. So, and this is using the explain Earth orbit textures. And by the way, it doesn't just show the airport. We do have a database of about 40,000 cities. So as it zooms out, eventually we should be able to see some cities. And as we get closer, it's going to start showing closer and closer cities. There we go. Portland, Sacramento, San Francisco. Can you open up the cabin of some fridge and a galley? Not yet. Pappy 82. Yeah. And you can pop it out, by the way, if you want to look at it. So yeah, you can literally just, set up a view here. And you get a quick access, by the way, so you can go ahead and seats, and you can sit in any one of these. That was actually back in the FBO. I want to go sit in, let's say, cabin seat number 3. And I can literally just chill out here as I'm waiting for the jet to do whatever flight I programmed it to do. And this actually shows your actual routes. It does respond to the flight plan entries. Does the toilet flush? Not yet. Pull the curtain. Yes, absolutely. So, open up, curtain. No, come on. Wink. There we go. We're all set up to fly. So, just sat on your passengers. Yeah. So, is the coffee machine working? Okay, so let's get the rest of the organization here out of the way.
Takeoff data.
We do all that stuff.
Flight department checklist complete.
So, engine start checklist next. Does the cockpit have any kind of door? No, it doesn't, Sakurohana. The cockpit's open. It's right aware, yes. Yes, it does show cities as well, Nevada Rocks. We've got a database of about 40,000 cities all over the world, so it will literally show you anything. As long as there's a city nearby, you'll see it. So let's say that we wanted to de-ice. We had to de-ice. The airplane will show visual icing. In fact, let's do that right now. I'm going to go ahead and make it snow today. I'm going to go to stratus layer. We're going to make it like something like -8. I'm going to give it a fair amount of precip and pretend it's a snowy day today. This is where the icing comes in. I'm going to wait for it a little bit to accumulate a little bit. So let's just time accelerate a little bit faster. And if we go outside, you'll eventually see. Let it snow, let it snow. Yeah. It's going to take a while for the wings to cool down and everything. It will sort of start showing powdery snow on there and all that good stuff. It's starting to show up slowly. Yeah, there it is. Run a 3700X. Yes. Thank you. I'm just going to quickly jump out so to show you. Eventually, it takes a little while since the airplane was sort of just sitting in relatively warm air. But it will eventually start showing up snow here, basically on the entire upper surface of the wing. Let me actually make it super heavy precip. That'll help the icing rate a little bit faster. We are aware of what the night temperatures are. So if you, for example, leave the airplane standing somewhere overnight, you come back the next day, even if it is, for instance, if you had like +5 in the sim, and you come back later, you can still have iced up wings. So do not assume that simply that's because it's above 0 degrees Celsius that the airplane's not going to be iced over, because we estimate the day-night temperature variation, and we are aware of the dew point, and so if it gets below 0 degrees Celsius, you might actually need to de-ice. And so yeah, you might very well come to an airplane, looks okay, but if you come up to the wings, you might notice, hey, the wings, they kind of look powdered over and stuff. We might need to de-ice. And if it's actively snowing like it is right now, you might need to anti-ice as well. And you're going to have to read up on your de-icing and anti-icing procedures for that. So, just for funsies, I'm just going to jump in the airplane. X-Plane just decided to change the lighting on me. I'm just going to quickly move back into the airplane. This is the start of immersion. Holdover times, yes, but you're going to have to look into them. Grab your FAA holdover tables. There are actually applications on iPad and I think on Android that give you that for free. You don't even have to lug tables around. So let's do an air start. I'm not going to follow a checklist for the time being. We're just going to wing it, sort of. Yes, we do have georeference Navigraph charts or FAA charts if you don't have Navigraph. Put your mobile phone in airplane mode. Well, you're in a private jet. You can use mobile phone for as long as you want. But if you want to, you should, oh, by the way, I was being a bit of a poor pilot here. I should have depowered the refuel. You would check your fuel quantities and stuff. There's actual procedures here. Since we're flying passengers today, wouldn't it be nice if we told them what's going to happen?
Ladies and gentlemen, if we may please have your attention.
This is recorded from an actual Challenger.
Welcome you aboard this Challenger 650 for your
and if I don't want to
today.
listen to him,
we would like to take a moment to
enjoy.
review the safety features of this Challenger 650.
Okay, so we're going to do an air start. So we are on brakes. Turn on the beacon here. Fuel pumps, and I'm actually going to shut off the APU. And packs. And they're going to pretend that we don't have a functional APU. We do, but, you know, whatever. For the time being, let's pretend that we don't have an APU functional. Can happen. So, how do we get pressure into the system? We bring up summary here. We got no bleed pressure. So, you got to tell the guy, the rampy down there, hey, we want to go and get rolling, right? So first of all, we got to make sure that we've got our parking brake set. Parking brake is on. You got the pedals mashed. Brake is set. Okay, so first things first. You got to talk to Rampy here. Hand signals. You can go ahead and pull the chocks out. And Rampy is going to run up to the airplane. He's going to pull the chocks. And he's going to give us a thumbs up. I'm going to wait for the thumbs up. There we go. Thumbs up. And by the way, if you want to, you can also talk to him on voice. So you come up and just park at the ramp. He's not initially going to be hooked up to the airplane, so we can tell him to hook up to the airplane. Turn on the service interphone here. Turn up the volume and switch your mic over to service interphone. And we're going to tell him, hey, please put your headset on.
Ground to cockpit.
And so he's asking me, what do you want me to do? I can tell him to start the air start unit, or I can tell him over hand signals. So, are we clear to start number 2, please? He's gonna start up the air start unit here. And we gotta wait for good pressure. Okay, bleed pressure is up. We're gonna open up the isolation valve. Yeah, that's what the thing sounds like. Literally, it sounds like it's dying. Can you please say hi, Ravenbird, for my older brother? Sure, hi, Ravenbird. Welcome aboard. Air start and a PCA card, or are they interchangeable? I'm not sure what a PCA card. If you mean an air conditioning card, that's a low pressure system. Air start you generally wouldn't use for air conditioning. They're kind of smelly, but you can on here if you really want to. And by the way, if you want, eventually I want to make all these switches here functional. So we got good pressure. So listen, when I'm outside, what happens to the air start card, because it gets loaded down with pressure demand. I'm gonna bring up this so we can listen to it, and I'm gonna start engine number 2. So we've got cleared plans to start engine number 2. We got the beacon going. And yeah, let's go. Start number 2. Okay, fuel's coming in. I didn't arm the emissions. I was being a bit of a Dumbo. Right there. Okay, ignition A arm. There we go. Fuel's coming. Okay. That's number 2. I know I was looking at number 1. Don't worry, I wanted to give you the sound of the air start card. Okay, start number 1. So, are we clear to start number 1? I know we're icing up, fly bad. Yep, we're clear to start number 1. Okay, we got two good engines, so we're going to go ahead and throw on the generators. I'm going to use engine bleeds, pretend that the APU didn't work. So, we got the engine started. Good stuff. Let's go ahead and go to our house. Yes, exactly. And finally, we can go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and tell them here.
Go ahead, Cockpit.
Disconnect the air starter. Yes.
Roger. Ground to Cockpit. Air starter is disconnected and clear.
Wonderful. So, let's pretend that this FBO call has de-icing services here on the ramp. Some do, some you have remote de-icing pads. So for that, I'm gonna go ahead and swap over to one of the radios, doesn't really matter which one. and we're going to contact de-icing. For that, we got to call them on de-icing frequency. So I'm going to throw in, actually, I've already got it in there. So 136.92 is de-icing frequency. This normally varies between airports, but we were using one fixed one for everything. Alrighty, let's go ahead and call them. I'm just going to operate the radio transmit switch.
Go ahead, Cockpit.
Our host connections and air start, yes, they're planned. You have fixed info in this plane, yes, you do. Just handle it is right there. And it has all the usual features that you would expect. So, we can go ahead and request de-ice only. That's type 1. De-ice and anti-ice. Now, it is actively snowing, as you see outside. So, this would be a case where we would want to both de-ice the airplane, which is to say remove. Will there be hoppy? Yes, eventually it will. There will. Not right on release, but there will be. So, we could either de-ice, if we only had ice on the airplane, but it wasn't actually actively snowing, we'd just go ahead and de-ice the airplane, just be done with it. But we have to have a holdover time, right? So we have to also apply an anti-ice fluid, which is by default it's type 4, unless you requested something else at the FBO. Okay, so let's go ahead and request everything.
Roger.
Okay, here he comes. And in fact, here's a fun little trick. I'm going to go under ground services, and we can play around as if we are the de-icer. And this takes a realistic amount of time. Type 4 should be green. Juice box, you know it. We'll be incorporating a Libraine. We'll try. I can't guarantee it so far. And by the way, obviously the de-ice truck, you didn't do pre-spray checklist. I am being a little bit naughty. Can you show snow accumulation on the fuselage? Currently we don't. By the way, the truck has its own little lights. Oh, I explained snow effect is wonderful. So yes, it does, for instance, also. And up we go, and rock and roll. So, give it a good squirt. And you can see that this is, jump back in, you can see that this is hot water. It's smoking. It's like steaming. And now the de-icer is going to drive around the airplane. I'm just going to quickly show you what a partially de-iced airplane looks like. So we've got some yellowish residue on this wing. The orangish residue, that's our de-ice fluid. Right wing is still nicely iced over. It's going to swing in from the other side and do the other part of this vertical stabilizer and horizontal stabilizer. And he's swinging it around, actually randomizing the pattern here a little bit. Get good coverage. I have to press the button in the cockpit like ditching. Nevada Rocks, there is a whole de-icing procedure that you're supposed to follow. Does the ice accumulation affect aircraft performance? Yes, it does, Laptop 903, very much. As one of our testers found out recently, he thought that it was not going to be a big deal. He just came up to the airplane, didn't think that there was, going to be ice on there because it wasn't actively snowing. Tried to take off, got up about 5 feet, and then the airplane reminded him that he did have ice on the wings, and he, kind of unceremoniously stuffed it in. So, As you know your de-ice, anti-ice procedures, we have to know our holdover time, right? How do we know our holdover time? Well, normally the de-icer is going to tell you when they're starting to apply your anti-ice and de-ice fluid. So, do that end. Does holdover time accurately? Yes, it is. And in fact, he's going to call me. Can you do remote de-icing? Yes, you can. You just call him when you're at the remote de-icing stand.
Ground to cockpit. Starting to apply the anti-ice now.
Okay, so here we go. Now's the anti-ice. We start our timer. That's when our holdover time starts taking over. And yes, it is green. And it's kind of thick and goopy. It doesn't generate such a giant spray. It doesn't steam because it's not hot heated. And yeah. Does the icing work with X-Enviro? Yeah, it should. With anything that basically... nice pun on the truck. Yes. So, we got anti-ice now on the right side, so it's greenish. And we still got... where's my other view here? Just gonna quickly scoot over to the other side, I'm sorry. And we still got orange stuff on the other wing. In fact, we don't really have much of any stuff. That stuff tends to flow off pretty quick. So he's going to come up to the other wing. Bluebrain going to be ready for launch. And we'll try after. And so he's going to apply dirt. Can we wash it? Not right now, Chill Blast. That's something that we were considering, but not going to be for a 1.0 thing. And yeah, he's gonna give me a good green wash. Personally fly X-Plane's default weather. I think I generally use either real weather if I do fly, or I use the XB NOAA plugin. What happens if anti-ice fluid gets in the engine? Generally not much. You guys, incompetent de-ice crew. The engine generally can survive quite a lot of water ingestion. I mean, if you've seen the engine test rigs that they use on... Yeah, it just goes out the back. If you've seen the engine test rigs that they use when certifying new engines, they like put a giant screen of water sprayers in front of the engine and just blast the thing with water. Propylene glycol giant vape session. Don't vape this stuff. It's not going to be good for your health. And we've even made sure that he doesn't get, you know, put his little cab right in the jet blast. So he's going to try and avoid it. He's smart enough like that. Does the airplane have a maintenance record? No, it doesn't. And yeah, this is an actual model of a real de-icer truck. This is what they look like. If you want to find them, I think they're called a Global 2200. So if you want to buy your own de-ice truck, that's the one you want. Does it have European style trucks? No, it doesn't. Well, European style. We don't want to be doing too many different truck models because that's sort of an endless hole that you can get lost in. De-icing fluid enters the APU and engine, and for example, there can be some fumes. Yeah. Generally, you would turn off the bleed for the de-icing duration. Hey, he's done.
Ground to cockpit. De-icing is complete. Surfaces are clean.
There we go. And that's our cue for driving away. We would complete our de-icing, anti-icing checklist and get everything done. So, I'm not actually going to fly anywhere. We're kind of run out of time. So, I'm just going to show you how to get the airplane packed up. So, we're just going to go and clear that weather. Not to detune the radio before they're done. Yeah. Otherwise you won't know if it's done. Yeah, don't partially stop the de-icing because it doesn't have a big impact on FPS. Not very much. So, let's pretend that we've arrived at our destination. Tomorrow we're going to do an actual flight. Tomorrow we're going to do an actual flight, so I'm just going to go and get down here at the ramp. You can actually call Jenny, even en route, and tell her to come pick up the passengers. So we're going to do that.
Hot Start Flight Support, Jenny speaking. How can we help?
And you can go ahead and pick up my passengers, take them back to the terminal.
Of course. I'll have that over with you in a minute or two. Anything else?
And that'll be all. Thank you very much. In fact, I'm going to take a GQ.
Of course. I'll have that over with you in a minute or two. Anything else?
You sound so motivated. Yeah.
Always a pleasure. Take care.
I don't know if you want an AC or a DC GPU. Evidence, no. You have to know they're not interchangeable. They serve different functions. And as a pilot, you're supposed to know that. Anyway, I won't beat you up over the head if you don't know. We're going to have tutorials and stuff, so... I'm going to shut down the aircraft here. I'm going to quickly accomplish my shutdown actions. Beacon light off, seatbelts off. Okay, we'll roll that in. Call Jenny for some tea. Open up the door. Push on it. There we go. Thank you. Stay clear of the jet flux, and typically they'll need off the bat quickly so engines run as normal. Yes, they need you if you're at a busy airport. Time on the de-ice pad is precious, and so eventually Jenny's gonna get our car over here, and it's gonna be here in about a half a minute. So they're basically Jenny's gonna jump in the van, and she's gonna come pick up her. She's gonna send somebody to come pick up her passengers. So eventually it's going to get here. For the passengers to deboard, you have to open a door, turn off the seatbelt sign, turn off the beacon, and then they'll be allowed basically to deboard the airplane.
Our ride is here. Thank you, Captain. Always such a pleasure flying with you. Have a nice rest of your day.
Miss Havdal, it doesn't. No, Challengers do not have wipers. And they're going to deboard the plane. Yes, that's karma. The landing on wet snow runways is native X-plane handling. It's using X-plane physics, so yes, it will work. Don't worry. Cool. Auto thruster levers. Yes, they are. Cool. And then there they go. Bye bye. So passengers are gone. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up the airplane. In fact, Jenny has been meaning to send me some GPU stuff. Use it in Japan. Oh, Type 2 you do, Scarebus driver. Interesting. So you can actually request Type 2 fluid. If you request it over, if you requested from the FBO, it will actually apply Type 2 fluid.
Cockpit. AC ground power is connected.
There it is. So they've driven up the AC ground power unit. That's what that looks like. A little TLD GPU, 115 volt. And yes, we'll make the cable connect and everything. So if I wanted to, I could now swap over to the AC ground power. So I'll pull the hydraulics here, shut off the 10th stage, shut off the packs, shut off the APU. kill the emergency lights, kill the passenger signs. Will there be a performance calculator? Performance calculator is already built into the FMS here. So it's, you've got takeoff, and you've also got approach performance. And gives you everything. So yeah. Cool. So, let's say we're done with the AC GPU, so go ahead and we'll kill the airplane. So nav lights off. All the other switches here are looking good. Actually, 14th stage can come off. Engine temps are okay. I'm going to go ahead and ask the ground crew to put the chocks in, or I can call them on the interphone. If I go to interphone here, turn up the volume.
Go ahead, Cockpit.
I can tell them to install the chocks like this, or I can tell them chocks in, please. Okay, and thumbs up is coming.
Ground to Cockpit. Chocks are in.
Sweet. Our Challenger's operated with RAS. So Pancake, it's an option. You can have it installed. You're going to have a slightly different TOS warning panel here. It's going to come in ours in the future. It's small enough to be hydraulic. Well, it's hydraulic. You can have giant airplanes that are hydraulic. The 747 is hydraulic as well. It's not so much even a A320 or a A380 is hydraulic. It's just how your inputs over on the controls here are translated. But yeah, this is a fully hydraulic, triple hydraulic system. Anyway, so disconnect AC power. Gonna be a little bit unhappy here. And I'm just gonna tell him, you know, go ahead and pull the ground power out. And he's gonna pack that ground power
Ground
unit.
to Cockpit. All vehicles are disconnected and clear.
Probably should have kept the battery on, but whatever. Cool. So, with that out of the way. Oh, one more thing. You know what? There's a quicker way, by the way, if you don't want to use the FBO functionality, you can. There is basically everything that you need, you can actually access from this menu. The entire reasoning for the functionality to have, like, you doing the whole thing with the with calling on phone and everything is you don't have to use the menu here. You can remain immersed in the simulation, but if you want to, you don't have to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Right to the hotel. So if I want to just quickly call the AC generator, I can do it through the menu here, and it's just going to pop up there. And I quickly just wanted to show you night lighting.
Ground to Cockpit. AC ground power is connected.
Yes, you can be quiet. So just as a quick finish up here, we can show you what the night lighting looks like. So I've come up here to the galley. Oh, so let's just quickly jump in. Gonna roll up the, that was not the right one. We're just gonna bring up the aviation flashlight here. All right, this is the one that we're looking for. So here is cockpit night lighting. Breakfast. Brushed heat simulator. Yes, indeed. Here's night lighting. This is the principal night lighting flood stuff. You've got your center pedestal integral lighting. Then we've got our center pedestal or main instrument panel flood. We've got our side integral. So this is for this stuff and that stuff, and also the other side as well. And we've also got some floodlights up in these air vents that can turn on and illuminate the side panel. So this is essentially the cockpit fully lit up. By the way, when you crouch down in the forward section here, it goes to like eye level, so you can see out the windows. And in the back, what do we do in the back? So we can go ahead and jump in here, bring up the galley control panel. There's a bunch of quick access buttons. We can turn on all the cabin lights, all the galley lights, or the galley floodlights. We can even turn on the lights in the lab and baggage compartment. Let's turn on all the stuff here. And by the way, you can control many of these individually. So if I'm going to bring the galley control panel with me, there's a way to pop this out if you want. Does the HUD have an auto brightness? I don't think it has an auto brightness, but you have a brightness dimmer. Oh, you can control the brightness of the HUD. So you can come up like this, and there's a knob right here on the main instrument panel. So you can play around with the HUD brightness as much as you want. Okay, so when the galley control panel dims, you can just poke it and it'll come back in. We're going to go into the cabin lighting. Reading lights I still have to implement. There's a little reading lights all over the place. We got table lights. Actually, let's go from fully darked out mode. Yeah, there we go. Table lights. These are just for your tables, obviously, and you can play around with dimming them. We've got downwash lights that come off these boxes here. They call the PSUs. Probably not too much, Turbinator. So we got the downwash lights, then we got the forward upwash, and then the rear upwash lights. You can turn them all on or partially on. And then we get to the sexy stuff. We got the PSU accents. PSUs are these environmental box units here. We can turn on these. And we got floor accent lighting. And lastly, we also have seat accent lighting, including the little compartments here for reading magazines and stuff. So yes, you can play around with the lighting quite extensively. And we've also got a lot of lighting in the lab. Got a lab. And we're just going to bring the panel here with us. I'm going to walk over to the lab in darkness. So, which one's the first one? We got the lab reading light. And we can illuminate the toilet. We've got the accent light. So the lab has itself a little accent light underneath it. We've got your mirror light. And we've got a upwash light here as well. And lastly, we've got downwash lights, or dome lights is what they call them. Basically everything turned on looks like this. Everything turned off, or what you don't want turned off. So yeah, stuff like that. Still has our flight plan loaded from the FMS. I'm gonna close this, and yeah, that's that. Door status is basically just a listing of the access panels, external ones. This VR compatibles. Vernier, not the walk around stuff. So you're gonna have to take your headset off for the walk around. Once you're inside of the cockpit, you can use VR if you want, of course. Even a hand towel. Okay, so let's make it daytime, and we're gonna close up the plane here, close out the stream, and yeah, jump on outside. So I'm gonna tell them basically I'm gonna disconnect the ground power. Disconnect or close or shut down the airplane. Tell them to pull the ground power out, and I'm going to close up the plane. Cool. Ground power is in, chocks are in, perfect stuff. Close the door is fairly simple. Just grab the door anywhere on the door frame, basically somewhere here, and just you pull it up as a arc over to the spot here on the door. Okay, lock it, and push the handle in. And there we go. Piece nicely parked up for the night. And we can go ahead and call it a day. So we can walk over to the FBO. All you have to do is basically just walk away from the airplane far enough. It's a little bit past, about 5 meters or 15 feet past the wingtip here. as we walk away. And yeah, and you just, you know, go ahead and walk home, say bye to Jenny. And yeah, that's it. So on that note, I'm going to call it here, folks. Everybody, thanks for coming by. Thanks for stopping by. Engine covers and stuff also modeled. MR Sky engine covers are not usually something you put on yourself. We're going to have pitot covers, and yeah, those are the only stuff that pilots manipulate. Anyway, all that good stuff. Talk to you later, folks. See you tomorrow, 22:30. We're going to do an actual flight, and we're going to go all the way from the FBO here, all the way to parking up at the end, at the other end. So I'm going to try and abbreviate the flight, of course. There's a lot more to it, but yeah, we'll try and keep it compressed. Everybody take care. Love you all, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, folks.